I'm looking at the Lekato Tank B. This is a bass all-in-one effects unit with amp models, an IR loader, and you can load your own custom IRs in that. It's got a noise gate, compressor, and then various effects like chorus, phaser, delay, reverb. It can be battery powered or powered over USB-C. No 9-volt, which is unusual, but between the battery and the USB-C, it's pretty easy to power it. It's got foot switches for turning on and off the different sections, as well as storable presets. And there's also a guitar version out there, which I don't have today, but we're going to look at the bass one because there's not a whole lot of videos on it on YouTube, so I thought I'd check it out. So we've got, of course, 1/4 inch in and out, as well as an XLR out. We have a USB-C port, which can be both used for powering as well as hooking it up to your computer, where you can use the software you can download to import your own IRs. There's also an 1/8 inch headphone out and an 1/8 inch input for hooking it up to your phone so you can play along with your favorite songs. So we've got 4 foot switches here for space, which is going to be your reverb, mod, which is your chorus, phaser, delay, amp is obviously your amp, and then your compressor section. And so these can all be turned on and off with the foot switches. You can also use them as A, B, C, and D switches for different presets. There is a tuner. I have not checked it out, so let's take a look. It's pretty cool how that tuner works. You just hold these two. Pressing B and C together will also switch between live and preset mode. When we're in live mode, we can turn on and off these different sections with the foot switches. And when we're in preset mode, it switches between different presets. We can move down the banks by pressing A and B, and we can move up in the banks by pressing C and D. There are 9 banks, each with 4 presets, so that in total comes to 36 presets. So the built-in presets are pretty good. It seems there's not a whole lot that are just caked with effects, which is not going to be too useful on bass. So that's nice that at least most of the presets so far have not really had any effects on them. Let's go ahead and check out the amp models on this. And the first one is an Alembic F2B preamp. I'm going to turn all the other effects off. Next is the Fender Music Master bass. The Marshall Super Bass Mark II. The SVT 76. The vintage AC100 bass amp. The Mesa Boogie Bass 400. Ampeg B15 flip top. The Ampeg V4B. And lastly, the Fender Bassman 100. None of these are crazy high gain, which I wouldn't necessarily expect in a unit like this. There is a good variety of amps, but there isn't a whole lot when it comes to distortion. So it may not be as useful for the metal player, or you may want to use a distortion pedal with it, but let's crank some of these and see how distorted they get. So I'm just going to turn the gain all the way up, and we'll go through the amps again with max gain. That last one, the Fender Bassman, that has the most gain on tap, and it's probably the best choice for metal. I also kind of like the distortion the best, but it's maybe a little overkill at max gain. This is also a good time to look at the IRs, because while I can run this much gain with some of the IRs on here, not all of them. Now, of course, you can also use your own IRs. You can load them with the USB-C cable, and even as just a standalone IR loader, it's not a terribly expensive pedal for that job. It only has 9 slots, but you can replace them anytime. So for the reverb, we've got a time knob, which is going to control the length of the reverb, and then the mix knob, which has 3 sections. So we've got a delay first, then we've got a reverb, sounds like a spring reverb, and then we've got a delay reverb mix. And each of these, I don't know if you can see the sections very well, but for each section you have a mix control, and then we've got the time, which will affect obviously the length of it. That delay gets very long. Wish the range of the delay was a little different. It doesn't quite do a really short slap back, which is kind of nice, especially maybe on a bass. It's always kind of like a short to medium delay, and then getting up into unusably long. I don't know why it would ever be that long. And the reverb goes into really long territory, which can be actually fun for a reverb. Moving on to the mod section, we've also got another 3 effects here. Let's see what they are. So we've got some kind of pitch effect that tracks your bass and does have a little latency, and then a chorus and a flanger or phaser. And the final thing to look at is the compressor. It's just a 2 knob, but it's got our sustain or our compression amount and then the attack. We also have a noise gate. The noise gate is pretty simple and self-explanatory, but it seems to work. It's just a single threshold knob. Here's our compressor all the way up. Here's more reasonable compressor settings. Very light compression. So it definitely compresses quite heavily if you want it to. There's not a whole lot of settings there, but there's enough to get the job done as a basic compressor. While I think this is primarily aimed as a practice tool with headphones or something you could use as a live rig or a backup live rig, I do want to see how it sounds in a mix because that's what I do here on this channel. So here's one of my songs with the Tank B. I dialed it in to sound as good as I possibly could with just this unit. There's no post-processing in the mix, so just how good this hangs in the mix. Let's take a quick listen to that tone in isolation. All in, I think it's a good value if this is something that would have utility to you, especially if you don't have a ton of gear and you're looking for something to practice with headphones with or something to travel with. This is pretty good. You could throw this in your gig bag with your bass and some headphones. It runs on batteries or USB-C. It's easy to power it. You could easily use this as a travel practice rig or something you keep in your bedroom or whatever away from your main equipment. It's small and lightweight. It's a good form factor, but it's also metal, so I don't have any issues with the build. The foot switches feel nice. It's got plenty of lights. That's always cool. And it works as an IR loader. Up until recently, there haven't been a whole lot of standalone IR loaders or more inexpensive pedals with IR loading capabilities. So I like that you can load your own IRs in this. For the price, again, around $80, it holds 8 IRs. That's somewhat useful. There's definitely some utility in that as a pedal, aside from all the other features. I think that could be useful as part of a live rig if you need something that loads IRs, because up until now, I haven't had a physical piece of hardware like this that does load IRs. I've made lots of IRs. I have thousands on my computer, but I don't really use them outside of my computer. If I needed to, or if I wanted something to send to front of house with an IR on it, this has that. So it's kind of useful for that, and I like that. That sums up what I have to say about the Tank B. Thanks for checking this out. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, smash like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.